Hey guys, TJM here. Welcome back to another video, and I'm just gonna do this like this. I've had some thoughts in my head, and just wanted to really do a video on what could possibly be the next Guardians movie, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And sort of it got my head spinning and my wheels turning and thinking about what could be a good storyline for that movie, because right now the whole Infinity Gauntlet saga is ended in the MCU, and we sort of had to find out what's going on here. What other stories could we tell in the MCU? And there's a bunch of them. There's a lot of great stories that we could tell, not just for Guardians, but just for the entire MCU as a whole. And it got me thinking, like, okay, so what could we what could they tell? So the immediate thought that I thought in my head, for especially for Guardians, was Annihilation Conquest. And my initial thought, though, was to do Annihilation, but there's a lot of there's a lot of other stuff that needs to happen first before they can do Annihilation Conquest, or the first Annihilation book. So before we go into that, let's do a very brief history of Annihilation proper, and then we'll do Annihilation. We'll talk about Annihilation Conquest afterward. So, first of all, the first Annihilation series was basically an event during the times of Civil War in the comics. So, when all that was happening in Civil War, back on Earth, Steve fighting Tony, and this whole thing, whatever, like that. All the basically heroes fighting for themselves. Out in space, we had a much bigger conflict that involves Annihilus, who, for those of you that don't know, Annihilus is sort of this bug type monster that has this device called the Cosmic Control Rod. Now, the Cosmic Control Rod is basically it's the power cosmic in the negative zone, which Annihilus resides in. He resides in a place called the negative zone, and that's whole other video that a lot of other people can articulate a lot better. I recommend a Comics Explained who has talked about Annihilus and the Cosmic Control Rod and all that good stuff. He does a much better job than I ever could. But basically, getting back to it, and so Annihilus, he basically thought of this idea. Well, hey, you know what? I'm going to conquer the positive zone and destroy and devour everything that's in my path because I want more space. Even though he pretty much controls at the time all of the negative zone. So what Annihilus did, he invaded the positive 616 universe, and straight was devouring and destroying everything in his path with the army of mutant space bugs that was there, that he had under his control. So basically, you had the heroes of the entire cosmic spectrum, Nova, Drax, all these other type of different people, Firelord, all these different type of heroes, Peter Quill, Star-Lord. They were all sort of like, hey, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Annihilus is going to basically destroy our universe if we don't do something. So what they did was they formed together as a team. They went and stopped Annihilus. End of story, basically. But there was a lot of other different players there. There's like Galactus and Silver Surfer, Super Skrull, Ronan the Accuser. All these different players were involved during Annihilation, the first Annihilation book. Now, Annihilation Conquest is the sequel to that. Now, it didn't involve Annihilus, but it did involve another major character, actually two major villains in that story. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Annihilation Conquest, basically, it ran sort of sequential and in part with I believe it was Secret Invasion at the time. So during the events of Secret Invasion, Annihilation Conquest was happening. And what was going on there was that all the entire cosmic side of the universe, all the empires. You got the Shi'ar, you have the Kree, you have basically all these different type of worlds and empires at the time. They were basically on the brink of imploding. They were exhausted because the annihilation wave basically decimated all their empires, whatever. And so what the Phalanx did was hey, we have all this, all these empires are decimated. Let's go ahead and go do it, whatever. So what they basically did, they basically formed their own quote unquote annihilation wave and was destroying worlds and what the Phalanx are. They're techno-organic organisms. Basically, that means that they are part machine, but they're part actual flesh and bone. And there's quite a few characters out there. One comes to mind is Warlock, not Adam Warlock, but there's a creature card called Warlock. He's been in a couple of X stories, particularly the New Mutants. He was a part of for a while, and his race was basically assimilating all these type of worlds, and basically they have a hive mind. So they're basically a hive mind, sort of like the Borg in Star Trek. They have this hive mind, and they assimilate. They take all the organic stuff into their being and whatnot. Yeah. So what happened was that the heroes were like, okay, so we gotta go find out who's behind all this. The Phalanx aren't so really organized. Who's behind all this. So they go find out, and it turns out that the person who's behind this is none other than Ultron. So Ultron was behind all this. He was controlling the Phalanx, and he was basically the mastermind of this entire conquest of basically this quote unquote annihilation wave again. So what we could do here is talk about the possibilities of the MCU involved with Annihilation Conquest, because we have a lot of the characters already established in the MCU that we could use for Annihilation Conquest. We already have we have the Kree already. We have Ultron established. We have the Guardians. We have a bunch of the Nova Corps. We have a bunch of these already established characters and alliances and empires that we could use for this movie. Now, the tricky part is that in the MCU, Ultron is dead. He's dead, or he seems to be dead. But see, now I take that with a grain of salt, because if you've ever read Marvel Comics, and if you ever read any Avengers books in general, particularly ones with Ultron, you know that Ultron can't really die. He is not a character that once you kill him, kill his body, that's the end of him. No. Ultron is basically immortal, due to the fact that his consciousness, quote unquote, can be uploaded elsewhere. It could be uploaded to anywhere in cyberspace. That includes, here on Earth or in space. So he can take his consciousness and he can upload it anywhere he likes. So he's basically immortal in that sense, and he can just put it into a new body. There goes Ultron, brand new body, brand new Ultron. He learns from his mistakes, improves on his mistakes, and yes, he's a force to be reckoned with. So they can use that angle as far as, how do you go around making Ultron, alive again? Well, he's an AI. An AI can't really die, especially an AI like himself, and you can just use that excuse. Another thing you can do is that instead of using, because Ronan was a part of of that story as well, you can also use that as an excuse that Ronan was the Kree Empire were involved and stuff like that, and they needed to use that. So you don't necessarily need to use Ronan. You could say that the Kree are involved somehow, and you can use Kree warriors and this and that and the other. to help fight this cause, and they do sort of an uneasy alliance type of thing with the heroes, with the Guardians, and you can use that. But instead of using Ronin's, who has the universal weapon, you can use Thor as sort of the hammer guy, and use him as the basically the big strong brute of the group, and have his character develop in there, and not only that, he was like, well, oh, wow, Ultron, you're the one that's behind this, I'll make sure that I'll defeat you this time, whatever like that. And he can basically explain to the other Guardians that, I fought this guy before. I know how he thinks. He was this villain that took over this place on Earth and stuff like that. He was a very evil robot mastermind and stuff like that. He can tell the Guardians who he is and stuff like that. Also, this will also sort of tie up another loose end that we saw on during Avengers Endgame. So I'm gonna be talking again about spoilers about Endgame. So if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. So I'm gonna talk about it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so during the end of Endgame, we saw that Peter and Gamora were basically basically trying to fall in love and seeing where their thing was at, and basically the Gamora that we saw was the out of time Gamora, the one from the past coming into the future. Now, that being the case, is that we could see that that Gamora and Nebula, who was also time displaced, we could see that they took off. We could say that, hey, they took off into the universe as the whole, and they got captured by the Phalanx, by the Ultron-controlled Phalanx, and that they're being used by them, and that's how, Peter, oh my gosh, Gamora's in jail role and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. She's the one fighting you and this and that. You can use all that. Because in Annihilation Conquest, some of the heroes do get captured, and they do end up getting used by the Phalanx. So you can use that angle, like as far as that. Oh well, the heroes are turned into villains temporarily, and they're being being controlled by Ultron and this and that, and you can use that angle because it was part of the original story. So, but you could also use different type of characters. Since we already had established the Skrulls, we could use Super Skrull. Super Skrull could possibly, I'm really hoping for this too, you could possibly bring in Super Skrull, and you could get him to, be a part of the Guardians, or him being in the front lines, or just as a cameo even would be awesome. Now, these are, like I said, these are just ideas I thought up on the fly. Don't really have basically pen and paper with me, basically going down like I did with the last video. I'm just going off on the top of my head right now, and there could be all kinds of stuff. You could actually use Richard Rider Nova as, someone that you could use, or maybe even Sam Alexander. That one's a little bit far-fetched, but I think you could use both of those as characters to be introduced in the movie. And then as the end teaser, you could use Galactus and the Silver Surfer as, well, hey, all these characters are out here, whatever, like that, blah, blah, blah. This war is fighting, or you can use it as Ultron was on the world, defeated, whatever, and Galactus shows up and devours the planet that Ultron's on. You could use that, and that starts the whole cosmic side of the, Galactus is coming to Earth type of thing. We could use all that. We could definitely use all that information and all that stuff to basically use that for the movie and to further the MCU cause. So, storyline. So that's pretty much it, guys. I know I've this is probably a horrible video, and I'm rambling and not making any sense, whatever. But I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. I thought that was a really cool idea, and I'm stupid, whatever. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy your guys' day. I hope you guys enjoy Endgame as much as possible. Looking forward to Spider-Man Far From Home and the rest of Phase 4. So, or the start of Phase 4. So, all right, guys. So, take care. You guys have a good one. And, I'll see you guys whenever. Take care.